So do you have any changes to the agenda? I've got a couple, if you'll approve them. The first one is to add VFW liquor license approval in the consent agenda. There were some filings that weren't done on time, and they're in the position where they need to have this approval from the council tonight. Otherwise, they won't be able to serve for the next couple of weeks until the next council meeting. So I would like you to approve that. Also,
Should we do this separately?
you can, I can.
I'll just
Go
make
ahead.
the motion to approve the addition of VFW to
Okay, great,
liquor
thank you.
license request to the consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. It's
Second.
second by Gandy. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, great. The other is to delete the public works appointment. Down in our action items, you see that we have appointments for 3 different things. Would like to delete the one for the Public Works Director because it's in conflict with her actual contract. And so right now, this isn't necessary. And in the new codification that isn't quite finished yet, this will come out. So if it's okay with you, we would just delete that.
I would make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Second was by Toohill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Great, thank you very much. Okay. So any other changes? Okay. If not, we will move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the January 8th, 2024 council meeting. Approval of the January 19th, 2024 payroll in the amount of $158,498.02. Approval of ACH payment to the Department of Revenue for $27,914.93. Acceptance of the Fairfield Volunteer Center Committee minutes. Acceptance of the Park and Recreation Advisory Board minutes. Consent of park use permit for Golden Magnolia Sanctuary. This is a noise exemption. Consent of park use permit for First Friday's Art Walk. Noise exemption for June 7, July 5th, August 2nd, September 6th, October 4th, and December 6th. Approval of the 2024 mobile home permits. Again, approval of the liquor license for VFW. Approval of total claims in the amount of $1,054,863.57. We have 3 claims over $75,000. Southeast Iowa Small Cities and Counties for our insurance for $77,184.95. Wicks Construction for Highway 1, $237,833.93. Woodruff Construction for Step 3, $429,000, $128.69.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, moved by Esty.
Second.
Second by Ham. Any discussion?
Can you clarify for us newbies, what does the mobile home permitting entail and look like? Because I can see who's applying and how many permits they're applying for, but like, is it a lengthy?
You want to explain that, Rebecca?
Sure. So it's just an annual renewal. They pay their fees and fill out an application that has all the contact information, and then it's just according to code that council approves it annually.
Okay. Does anyone within the city ever do inspections of those and make sure that they're staying cleaned up and there's not
Yeah.
severe dilapidated mobile homes and stuff?
I will come up.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, talk about that, will you please?
So one of the things that we were asking with this round of permits is for a map of all of the spaces. One of the things we found out with Leisure Living was that the spaces that they are leasing does not equal what they are paying for. And then when we do have nuisance issues, that we have an address or a lot number associated with those particular lots, and that we can correspond better with the owners of the park with it. So we have asked for that,
Okay.
with the intention of doing some inspections at a minimum of counting the number of stalls and getting there, and that will get us some eyes into all of them.
Okay.
But we are doing that this year.
Okay. I just had some prior experience, and I know
Yeah.
several of them have changed hands since
Yeah.
I was county treasurer, but
The other
it was
question that has
definitely,
come up in the past is the condition of the roads.
yeah.
And are they passable for police and emergency vehicles?
And I guess I don't know, is leisure living on this
No.
list?
It's
No.
not.
Yeah, oh, it's not?
No. I
It's
don't
not
think so.
called leisure living anymore, is it?
No,
No,
It's a different.
Oh,
it's a different name, but we
it's
did
called
put it on
Fairfield
conditional.
Estates.
Yes.
oh, okay.
Okay. So, and they have been working on their roads out at Fairfield Estates, where it used to be leisure living. So again, having a map and being able to go out and just a general look. We don't inspect them like we do apartment buildings or anything like that, but starting with confirming the number of stalls, that'll at least get us into some of the areas that we haven't been before. So the intent is to do a more thorough job than we have in the past of reviewing the parks. We have not, I agree, but that is the intent with this year and getting the maps from the owners.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
So do we have a plan of what they're going to be doing with those roads? And that's what we're waiting for, why they're not on the permit list, or?
I thought they were on those lists, are they not?
Jason, can you open the 2024 mobile home permit?
They're on the list.
They must be Fairfield MHP Land LLC, the 101 space.
Okay,
Oh,
yes,
Fairfield
I'm
Estate,
sorry,
they're at
from
the bottom.
Kansas City,
Yep,
yes.
Yep.
Yes, it's their official group name.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, but they have been doing, they did some repairs before the snow and they had been
Okay.
working out there.
thanks.
Any other questions or discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Esty,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes,
Toohill,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes, except I'll abstain from approval of the minutes of the January 8th meeting as I was not present.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So that passed and one abstention. Under public appearances, we have Daryn Hamilton to talk about the WPBA, Fairfield Invitational.
Hello. It's been a year almost. We had a great turnout last year for the tournament. If you remember, a year ago, I came and asked the council if we could get some local option sales tax money to provide transportation from the Des Moines Airport down to Fairfield and then back to the Des Moines Airport, as well as some transportation around town from 1015 Transit. The council allotted $1,000 from local option sales tax a year ago. That total was actually much higher than that. This year, we'd still like to ask for $1,000, but a little extra to go along with that for a total of $1,500. We'll use the $1,000 again for the transportation, but the other $500 would be to rent a scissors lift from Schaus Voorhees, who we have done the last 3 years three times in a row for the tournament, and that usually runs about $450 in order to do that, because we get a lift and two guys, one to operate it and the other to help on the ground with stuff that's going on. So I would like to ask the council again for $1,500 this time, if they have it in local option sales tax. Now, we have went ahead and created a 501c3 organization for the tournament itself, and we have applied or put in an application by the deadline this year for next year's local option sales tax funding, and we would like to have some consideration for that. Last year we sold over 200 tickets to the event itself. Saturday of the event we had nearly a complete sellout crowd in the Civic Center for that. We've went from where we barely had anybody show up the very first year, and I kept promising everybody it's going to get better, it's going to get better, we just need to stick with it. Year 3 we had a doorbuster. The Civic Center made over $7,000 in ticket sales, and they still haven't told me how much money they made in alcohol sales or adult beverage sales. at the event, but a couple of the board members that I've talked to said they were extremely shocked at how much money that revenue stream generated. So we want to continue to have this event here in Fairfield, and we see that we need some extra help in doing it. The prize fund, the sponsorship money has went to $15,000. Our first two tournaments, it was $10,000. Last year, it was $15,000 added to it. Each one of the players, we have 48 players that come and play. Each one of the players pays $370 as an entry fee into the tournament. That's all combined together so that we can give out a top prize of $6,500 to the winner of the tournament. These ladies are professional pool players. They come from all over the world. We will be seeing Allison Fisher come back. She's probably the greatest woman player of all time in this country and in Europe. She was just awarded the MBE, which is member of the British Empire, and she, along with another lady, Kelly Fisher, who will not be at our tournament this year, was awarded that same award here just a couple of months ago. So these people are really high quality, high caliber people that come here and stay with us for almost a week. We start the tournament on a Thursday. Most of them arrive on Wednesday and will not leave until either Sunday or Monday.
Daryn, what's the dates of the tournament?
March 21st through the 24th. And again, we weren't able to get in a request last year for money that would be allotted last July for this fiscal year. Now, next fiscal year, starting for the local option sales tax, you apply in January, it's awarded at the end of April. You know then you won't get your money until the 1st of July, which is after our tournament again, but we want to start getting into that process. That was another reason for becoming a 501c3.
So have you applied for this year?
Yeah, we did. We have the application in already. It was supposed to be in a week ago last Friday.
You have it submitted, and so it'll be, if it's awarded, it'll be available for you next year.
Yeah, yeah, that's what we figured. Whether that's March or after the 1st of July, I believe that has to be by the rules that you all have set on the form or application form. And that, again, is why I'm asking right now for the tournament in March, and we wanted to get set up with the 501c3. We didn't get that accomplished until about the end of November, beginning of December. And
23.
we have some money coming into that right now so that we were within the guidelines that's required by the city for award of local option sales tax. But
And
again,
you do attract people from out of state. I talked to
yeah,
several people last year.
We do. We attract people from a lot of different places. Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Nebraska, Missouri. They come and they fill up the American. We have a room block of 25 rooms set for all the gals to come. We will ask the mayor again if she would like to put up at least 1 or 2 players out at Seven Roses, if you still work that or not. But this was a dream of mine a long time ago. I started actually thinking about this back in 2015, and it took 4 years of working and talking and convincing the people that were on the board of directors at that time to come and look at Fairfield to see if we could actually do a tournament here. And they all agreed that it was worth a shot. And each one of them told me, you know, your first year is really going to be a dud, but by the end of your 3rd tournament, it's going to be huge. And I truly believe that. I saw that last year, and I think we're going to see it even more this year because I've already had more interest than I've ever had about the tournament and when it's going to be and who's going to be here. We'll have an official list of players that are going to be here in Fairfield probably within the next month, and we'll be able to publish that at that time. But we're doing everything we can to try to keep attendance up at the Civic Center. I know you guys made a big point that they had a really big year this year. I think we had a lot to contribute to that. And with the people that come to town to watch this, we also bring a lot of local option sales tax money to the community.
I'll make a
So-
motion to go ahead and award $1,500 from the local option sales tax under the community betterment account for the Fairfield Invitational.
Okay, moved by Florno, here's a second.
Second.
Second by Kness. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Okay, great. Passed unanimously. I think they have your support.
Thank you very
Okay.
much, and we really appreciate the support, and we're hoping that next year we'll have even a little more
Okay,
through
great.
the application that I put in.
Is this
Awesome.
the third year that it's going to be
This is
happening?
going to be the fourth
This is the
tournament.
fourth.
We
Okay,
did
so
one
fourth
in
annual.
2019,
Got it.
which was the first. Then we skipped because of COVID. We did one in 2021. The tournament that was set for 2022 got pushed back because there were some other bigger things that happened at the time. So we had another tournament in 2023, which was the last one we had. Now we're on an annual basis with the Civic Center for March each year, whether that's the third, second, fourth weekend of the month. That just depends on their calendar and when we fit into that schedule. But we have a good working relationship, the WPBA does, with the Civic Center, and we really enjoy that. We want to continue that, and we still want to bring as many people to the community as we can. And this type of event will do that because it's spread out over so many days. And it is continual work for the girls all the time to get to the point that they're at. Now, Allison, the reason I wasn't here 2 weeks ago on Monday evening was I decided I was going to leave early before the snowstorm to go to Birmingham, Alabama for a week. And Allison Fisher won the tournament down there this couple of weeks ago, and it's the first tournament she's won in probably 3 or 4 years. You know, with the way life works and all of that, for a big-time professional to have a drought that has lasted that long, it's kind of unnerving for them when it comes to competition time. And she pulled through and won out of an 80-player field the championship. So she's coming here. She's going to do the same thing here. She wants to be on track to win at least 3 or more of the 10 events that we're going to have this year across the country. This is the first time in probably 10 or more years that we've had more than 3 or 4 events across the country. But the board is working very well at that. I'm very proud to be the vice president of that board of directors, and they've seen what I've been able to do here, and we're using it as an example to look at other cities that want to
Great.
do it rather than in bars or pool halls.
Awesome.
So
Well, thanks,
thank you
Daryn.
very much for the
Appreciate
money,
it.
and I'll pass that along.
Appreciate it. Moving on to resolution action items and ordinances. The first couple action items are in our code, and we didn't do it the first meeting in January, so we're catching up here. First action item is consideration of city clerk appointment. Now, I'll just mention that it's in our code that it's for a 2-year and continuing, but the code that I got didn't state that, so that's why it's on here. So it was a little contradictory. I said, let's just go ahead and do it so that we know that we've done it. So again, this is appointing our city clerk for her appointment.
So moved?
Moved by Ham,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Toohill.
Yeah.
Thanks. Kness,
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. And then also consideration of our city attorney appointment. I just want to note that, you know, we do have an agreement with our city attorney that you approved in July, but this isn't a kind of an official act here, so.
I'd like to make the motion to move this to the Personnel Committee.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Yes. Why?
Well, our attorney's been here for what, 40 years? 20 years at least?
33.
33 years. And never had a performance evaluation in all that time. And I think it's really important that the council do a performance evaluation of every employee that we have. It's in the best interest of the council, and it's also in the best interest of the employee. So getting a formal mechanism of feedback and communication between the council and the employee is essential to improving the relationship and also correcting the course of the employee or the council should it be needed. It also provides a mechanism for requesting changes in compensation, and also is an opportunity to discuss changes in scope of service.
As the mayor just mentioned, we just signed a contract, correct?
We signed
With
the agreement for the
services?
following year.
And
From
that
July to June.
agreement, I believe, did come from the Personnel Committee. Wasn't there already an opportunity to discuss that previously?
But we didn't do a performance evaluation.
Has there not been a performance evaluation in 3 decades?
Well, there's a reason
No.
for that.
Just a minute, John. So I would like to see a performance evaluation done at the end of every appointment, before our next appointment. So nothing's ever been done. I'd like to see that done now, before making the appointment.
So same for city clerk. We just already approved that.
We already approved the city clerk.
Oh, okay.
She already has a job of performance evaluation by the city administrator.
John, did you want to make your point?
Yes,
Objection. He can only speak to the council if it's on a legal matter. He can't speak on his own behalf in this case.
I'm still
well-
a citizen here, Doug.
I know, but you're not allowed to influence the deliberations of council,
I think it's reasonable to hear him,
but it's
Doug.
against our rules.
I really do. I think it's reasonable that he
Well.
make a statement, and then we'll vote on it.
Here's the deal. For 33 years, I've been doing this the same basis as Bob Parkin did for 30 years before me. Now, that doesn't mean that it's right, but that's the way it's been done. The state code allows for you to have a full-time employee city attorney if you want, or you can have a part-time city attorney as what I call a W-2 employee. Or you can have retained corporate counsel from a private law firm, which I am, and that's the way I've had it since you hired me in 1990. So that's the reason that you haven't had a performance evaluation before. My law office has a separate set of standards, and that's with the Iowa State Bar Association and the Supreme Court. I have a complete set of rules as far as what I'm supposed to do there. Now, I'm not, in my opinion, subject to the employee manual of the city of Fairfield, but I do operate under it every year. I handle your employment situations, so I'm not speaking out of school here. I'm just telling you I am a retained corporate counsel, not a W-2 appointed employee. So that's the reason it is the way it is right now. If you're not happy with that, the terms of the employment agreement that we did last summer, I mean, you can reopen those anytime, but I think that's what controls right now.
Okay, thank you, John. Appreciate that.
So we could reopen the employment agreement at any time, is that, if I understand it? I think the thing is, we could go ahead and approve the appointment, which I'm going to.
Well,
We
we
have a
already
motion.
have a motion
I
on the floor.
understand that, this is my statement.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
I understand. I think we can consider going ahead and approving the appointment, denying the motion and going ahead and approving the appointment. And if there's some point we want to undergo, or city attorney is to go through a evaluation by the personnel committee, we can do that as well. Voting to approve the appointment doesn't preclude an evaluation at some point.
Okay, so for now, we have a motion and a second to take it to personnel. Is there any other questions or discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy,
No.
Kness,
No.
Esti,
No.
Toohill,
No.
Ham,
Yes?
I think that was 4-3, no? Correct?
correct.
Okay, so it will not go to Personnel Committee.
And I make a motion to approve the city attorney appointment.
Second.
Okay, moved by Gandy, second by Esti to approve the appointment. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Flournoy,
No.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
No.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
No?
So 1, 2,
4-3.
4-3 to approve. Thank you. Let's move on to the next resolution. It's a consideration of agreement with the Fairfield Economic Development Association. This is in resolution form.
Mayor, I would move, being now on the Economic Development Committee and not having been a part of the conversation of this resolution, to refer this back to the Economic Development Committee so that current city council members could, get up to speed, make sure that, our voices are heard.
Okay.
And,
Yeah, that's fine, because the actual agreement that we want FIDA and us to sign is basically says the same thing as this resolution. And in December, we had referred that to the Economic Development Committee. So, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded to move this back to Economic Development Committee just for one last review. Hopefully, the last review. Any discussion?
Yes, I'd like some, a better understanding of how, the genesis of this particular draft of the resolution, how it came about.
That was a request by Councilman Flournoy,
Okay.
that it become in resolution.
Okay, who drafted
And
this?
then our city administrator, I think,
drafted it.
drafted it in resolution.
Okay.
So,
Is the intent to do this with every agency we give a penny to, or why FIDA today? Why,
this
why
was
are
noted in
they-
our last audit. The last audit requested an agreement showing the public purpose of why we put
support
money
FIDA.
towards. Yeah.
And so we don't have to do that, just as an example, for the money given to the daycare center? I'm just curious the difference in those two things. FIDA has a very
yeah.
specific mission.
Right.
And, should they deviate from that mission and we deem that they don't deserve the funds, I feel like we could stop it at any time.
Yeah.
It just seems we have a lot on our plate. The
Yeah.
city has a lot on their plate, and to add oversight to a 501c3 organization, in my opinion, is just oversight that you don't need to deal with,
I think in this case, it's just putting on paper what they do and what we do, and we all agree to that, and we think there's a public purpose. With the childcare center, that was ARPA funds, so it was different.
Sure,
It was a
yeah.
one-time shot.
Yep.
So I think, those are some of the differences there.
Okay.
So, can I withdraw my second?
Well,
I'm listening to now I understand the genesis of the agreement. I think, and looking at the resolution, it's pretty straightforward, in my opinion.
I still don't like the way that it's written.
Okay.
Well, there
I
is,
want- But I want to withdraw my second, that's what I'm
Okay.
asking.
okay, so is there another second to
I
move
would
this to
second
economic? Okay, then move, second by Rowe.
just so we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have
mean-
one question too.
Wait a minute.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. So it states here $26,000, but 10,000 of that is membership and the 16,000 is extra.
Okay.
So that's not laid out here. And I thought the membership bill should come separately and this should only address the 16.
Okay, so,
Or have this break that money down into two pieces, one for membership and then one for, I don't know what the,
Yeah, and I'm not
Extra.
against drawing up an agreement about, what the specific dollars are being charged for. I feel like there's just a few sections that maybe are unnecessary in the current resolution.
okay.
Okay.
Well, that item can be discussed too, when you
Yep.
take it to
The
economic
other,
development committee. Fine tune it.
thing I've asked a couple times for, but haven't seen yet. If we're members, does the organization have bylaws?
I would assume so. Every
Oh.
organization does.
We haven't seen a copy of the bylaws. I would like to see a copy of those,
I can't speak to that, so.
right?
I can,
Please do.
sure, FEDA has bylaws.
Of course they do. We just haven't seen them. Can we see them?
I think you can. They're part of the same things that FEDA has filed with other
No, but can we
grant
get a hard copy
applications
here?
and things.
Can we
It's
get a hard
probably been
copy?
a while.
Can we get a hard copy here?
So,
Well.
Our
that's
FEDA
the
director
only
is here.
reason we can't.
yeah.
FEDA
Well, I'll
director's
follow
here.
up on that, Doug.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I would think it'd be available to all members.
And I do have one other question, probably John can answer, but how are we setting on UDAG? I know at one point we were seeing an end in the future at some point of that fund.
I
And does
don't
that
know
whole
the answer as
26,000?
well
I think Rebecca knows the answer to
think
Does
that.
that, does that
Rebecca-
whole
Thank you.
26,000 come out of UDAG or
Yes.
just the additional 16?
16
All,
should.
Six,
all 26 comes out of you,
All 26 comes out of
Yes.
UDAG, okay. And how is that fund?
We probably have enough for a couple of years, yeah.
Okay,
That's what I was remembering too from a previous council meeting, that it was like gonna sunset, like eventually the funds were gonna run out, but it's a
Yes.
few years.
But while we had no money in it, we were using general fund.
right. How does it get replenished?
Well, it doesn't any longer.
I know, but how was it getting
It got
replenished?
paid back to us from the sale of the building down south,
The spec building.
the spec building, correct.
Oh, right.
Okay,
Oh, one more
so,
question.
yeah.
Reading this over. So the way this section 4 is written, the first year agreement ends on June 30, 24, and then it says rolls over for one more year, meaning at the end of 25, this will come back to us for reapproval? Or is it this implying that it's going to roll over every year indefinitely? Because it looks to me, when I read this, it reads like it's going to end on June of 25.
Ken, why don't, let's take that, why don't you discuss it in committee and
Yeah.
get it the way you want it, and bring it back.
Just so it's clear, if you put the years in there or
Okay.
whatever. be
Great.
good.
Can economic development make note of that, please?
Noted.
Thank you. Any other questions? Not, please call the roll.
Kness,
So this is still my motion to move
This
it
is
back,
your
right?
motion to
Okay,
take it
yes.
to economic development.
Okay,
Rowe.
here's, the way you get around
Yes.
that is she's supposed to read the motion back to us, so you know what you're voting on.
Yeah.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Esty,
Yes.
Toohill,
yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously. Next resolution is the consideration to enter into the site lease agreement with the Interstate Power and Light Company, the ground-mounted solar. This was with Alliant, and I'm gonna let Doug report on that because they just had a property committee.
Right, so this is a pilot program by Alliant Energy that the IUB, the Iowa Utilities Board, has already approved this program. So there are restrictions and rules about it that limit what we can do. As of right now, and it's still not finalized because there's some things that are unknown. As of right now, the plan is to put in enough solar panels to acquire enough energy to meet the building needs of all the city's buildings. I said energy needs of all the city's buildings, 1.3 megawatts. That's how they calculated the size of the project. If we add on more buildings, for example, like the fire station, it's not gonna get expanded. So it's set now for 20 years.
I heard, was it 1.5?
The document here says 1.5, other people told, they don't know yet. It's gonna be
Up to. No more.
probably no more than 1.5. And then so it's not clear yet exactly how many acres they're going to require, but it should be on the order of 6, 7, or no more than 8 acres, depending on how the design of the layout is, what kind of access roads they need, how much space they need around the panels for maintenance. So being able to drive a vehicle around, for example. So with all that in consideration, reading through this, we agreed, the committee did, that all the strike-throughs would be accepted. All the removal of the RECs, which are the renewable energy credits, which are associated with sustainability goals, which we do not have as of now. So that's a moot point. And I asked him if we acquired sustainability goals later, could we add the RECs back in? And he said no. And I think that's everything. Did I miss anything, committee?
The exhibits.
Yeah, the exhibits, which
Yeah,
you
exhibit-
haven't touched on.
Exhibit B and D. Exhibit B is the layout of the facility itself, and I think Exhibit D is the access roads.
Correct, that's the access easement, and that would,
And those aren't known yet. So we won't, until they come in and design it, we won't know exactly what those look like. That's why we don't know exactly how many acres it's gonna be. But the cost, or the price, or the rental fee will be, what, $57,305? So if they took only 6 acres, that means we would be receiving $9,888.87 an acre. And we're currently leasing it for agriculture at $405 an acre.
And that's annual, each year.
Yes.
For 20 years. And then after that, 3 5-year increments where we could extend it.
So the difference is, renting it as farm ground is under $1,000 an acre.
Yeah, half of that.
Winning it as for the solar array is
$10,000.
many times that.
Almost $10,000 an acre.
It's a good deal for the city.
Yeah. Now, if they go to 7 or 8 acres, it's gonna be a little less than 10,000. I didn't calculate those numbers, but you can figure it in your head, it's proportional. And what else is there? Is that it? I think I covered everything. Any questions? Recommendation of the council, from the committees to approve it.
We'll take that as a motion. Is that correct, Doug? Are you moving?
Yes, I'll move to recommend I move to accept the lease agreement as we have amended it, discussed it, amending it, for the ground-mounted solar Interstate Power and Light Company.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Kness.
Discussion a minute. Can we
Yeah,
make
discussion?
one friendly amendment that this is specific to the cash-only rental with no credits? That was
Well-
the other part of our discussion.
I already said we're gonna strike the REC credit
Okay.
section.
All right.
So that'll be struck from the contract, and
Right.
Dave Vollmer suggested just take the cash and run.
Yeah.
So,
Cash is king. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Esti,
yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously to accept that agreement with Alliant. Next is ordinance 1236. This is the third and final reading, and this is the amending the large item pickup sticker fees to $30.
Make the motion to pass ordinance 1236.
Moved by Flournoy. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ham. Any discussion?
I do have one question. I don't want to nitpick, but it says the amendment is cost of solid waste sticker tag will be $1. What's that for? What constitutes solid waste?
Where are you at?
that's the extra trash
Yeah.
stickers, if you have extra
If you have
trash.
additional
Yeah.
of 2?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And that doesn't need to be spelled out in there to be read that way? Or not?
That's how we sell them, is the solid waste extra,
So,
is for
so it's
large-
only when it's required?
correct.
Okay.
Yes,
I guess that,
in
all right.
addition to the 2 bags
Okay.
or cans.
all right, good enough.
Okay. Any other discussion?
This might be the wrong ordinance.
Yeah,
This is
Is
not the
that the
right
wrong
ordinance. This was be the large item ordinance.
What do I have attached?
I was wondering why you were asking that.
Yeah.
And you know what? I didn't click on it.
Well, it does say, well, the cost of a large item sticker will be based on the rate per item as determined by the solid waste provider. So it talks about solid waste sticker tags and large item stickers,
Right.
which is what it read the last time we were looking at it.
Right.
Yeah, because we
The,
just passed the cost on.
Okay,
the
so it's
small
not-
sticker stayed the same price. It was the large one
Yeah.
that
Right.
I'm
increased
sorry.
with
It's
this
just a second
particular
sentence in that
resolution.
paragraph.
Yeah, we were removing the
So we
original.
removed the exact price so that it was flexible. If they change it in the future, we don't have to come back to this.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so what's that? We do have a
Yes.
first and a second
Yes.
by Flournoy, a second by Ham to approve this to the third and final reading. The large sticker item to $30. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes?
Toohill,
Yes.
Kness,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Esti,
Yes.
Rowe.
Yes.
So under the mayor's report, I don't really have anything other than to welcome Mr. Ed Malloy back to our chambers now as the executive director of PETA. You want to say anything, Ed? I'll give you the floor for 2 minutes. 2 minutes only.
I'll take one. Well, good evening, council. I assume that you all probably read the local story about taking the position as executive director for Grow Fairfield Economic Development Association. There was an additional hire, Julie Albert, who is new to the area, but very skilled and has some great experience that I think is going to lend a lot to what we do here at the association. We have a lot of plans. We've been in position for 2 weeks. We'd love to come back and report to you. Certainly look forward to meeting with the committee to talk about Grow Fairfield's value, what it's accomplished over the last nearly 50 years as an organization locally. So, and again, personally, just a joy to be involved and engaged in this community and contributing to its growth and expansion, along with the esteemed council and mayor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. City attorney report?
Just a couple things. We are waiting on ICAP to get back to us about something I reported to you at the last meeting. We got a counterclaim on our first almost done 657A. So far, I've been robocalled 3 places at ICAP, and I'm expecting either John Baum or a lady named Terry, I think it's Harn, is going to call me back about whether we are going to have separate allocated counsel to each of our named defendants on the city side of this. The counterclaim basically asks for punitive damages, so I think we're entitled to that kind of a defense if ICAP says so. Otherwise, I've already filed a responsive pleading, so there won't be any default. But it won't be over for a while, I'm afraid. Second thing, we have some other 657As that are in the process of noticing out so that we can demonstrate that doing due process, the owners have been alerted that we consider them abandoned property. One of those, we've had back and forth with an owner that lives in California. I'm anticipating we'll get a proof of service on that, so that'll start running on one of the people on the list. Other than that, we've got a couple others that we expect to go forward. The blizzard didn't help us with our bid process on the house over on 6th Street that we've been looking to get a demolition contract out on. We have a nice detailed bid demolition contract that will come up for consideration in February, assuming that we don't have more things that are weather delays. I would expect we'll get some interest in that, and that'll kind of be a pattern for what may happen on a few of these other properties that are begging demolition. So Other than that, I think probably until we have, out of the list of about a half a dozen others, something more concrete, I'll just leave them alone and we'll take them one at a time as we get to them.
Great, thanks. That's a reminder also to property committee to work on these properties and how we're going to liquidate them or what we're gonna do, you know, as soon as you can kind of get a process going.
Talked to a guy about it just the other night.
Yeah, okay, great, because we'll wanna flip them. Okay, great. I guess we already did property committee. You don't have anything else, Doug, do you?
No.
Any other committee reports not on here listed? Okay. Administrator department reports, administrator report?
I don't have a lot, as we all know. We set a record since 1971. There was a record of 14.2 inches of snowfall in one day. We had 14.5, and we have not seen as much snow since 1978. I want to commend the street department for working day and night throughout this storm. There were no injuries. There was no loss of life. It was very stressful. It is a challenge to get through some of the things that they had to. They set priorities. They achieved their goals. But they also worked in tandem with the county, with the Parks Department, with the water and sewer. The list goes on and on and on. We actually had to dig ourselves out to leave work. It was a storm that I haven't seen myself in years. I was raised in Kansas, so I'm not unfamiliar with a large amount of snowfall, but I still have 4 feet of snow on my roof. So I am pleased. We're going to do an after action report when they finally get the thaw, because some of the snowpack is turning to ice. Hopefully by the end of this week, the streets will be completely navigable, if I can say that correctly. But we have been discussing, different equipment needs. We may not see this kind of a storm in the next 2 decades, but we could see the same. We could see it tomorrow. So there's some things that we're going to think about and work through, and we'll continually try to be more efficient, more effective. I know that people were frustrated. I know that we had troubles getting to and fro. We knew the storm was coming, but I'm very proud of city crews and the efforts that they put in. The fact that we had staff sleeping at the shop. They couldn't go home to their families. They couldn't address the things that were going on there because they were here taking care of us. And that's a humbling experience. So all of those things being said, as we go down, I appreciate and want to thank the council for letting the department heads make some of the quick decisions that we had to make. We didn't realize that, that the storm was going to turn the way it did. And we didn't want to reach out to every individual and we did make collaborative decisions amongst ourselves, but you trusted us to do our jobs. And we had a lot of phone calls, but we had to stand firm. We had to make sure that people could get where they needed to get, make sure that emergency services could get to medical calls. And we worked day in and day out to get that done. So thank you all for that. Lastly, the city budget is on, and we've been working on that. We were hoping to get through a lot of it today, but other things came up, but we will keep on keeping on. So that's where we are.
With that, I'd just like to also, thank you to all our police and sheriff and emergency workers, ambulance. I've heard some pretty amazing stories of people risking their lives to help other people, and even private citizens. So thank you, everybody, for all the efforts that everyone made. It was pretty amazing over last week before. So, Melanie?
Yeah, and along those lines, my project update is pretty bare because since my last project update, it feels like we've only had holidays and snow days. So been spending a lot of time over the last couple weeks coordinating between the departments. I agree with everything that Doug said. And Joe and myself and Doug have already discussed a few policy changes that we'll bring forth at the end, after budget and as we move into the next season. The other thing to let you know that Brett Farrell and I, Brett as EMA coordinator, we're working on scheduling a meeting with Alert Iowa. So that is the service that puts out the winter weather and the Amber Alerts. They do have an option for non-emergency announcements where we could announce water main breaks or the snow emergency is in effect for the downtown. So we hope to schedule that here soon to figure out exactly those costs and what options we have for those. Because there are some limits, but the city of Washington uses it to let citizens know about their snow parking ordinance. So we are working on that again as kind of the after action report that Doug mentioned, that we've had a lot of discussions internally about different things that have happened over the last week. And certainly if the council has any questions about the process or the policies, to let Doug or I know, and we can answer those questions or point you in the right direction, because I know whether you're new or we just haven't experienced a storm of this size, that there's questions. And again, some changes that we'll be recommending here in a little bit. As far as project related, the only thing I really have to announce that has happened in the last month is we did a new pre-construction meeting for the Step 3 force main. So this is all of the blue pipe that sat around down by the bypass all summer long. They delivered the pipe, and then they had some staff changeover and emergencies that delayed them all summer, and so they are ready to start as soon as some of the snow melts and they can start working. But they are going to be starting down at the lift station, working towards Highway 1. Other than the trail, not a lot of disruption to the community, and I will get letters out to the property owners, but just for people in that area to be aware that is going to be starting here in the next few weeks. And the other item that I want to report on is the Board of Adjustment. I did attach a memo along with the Board of Adjustment minutes. I attached it at the last minute, so I'll try and summarize it for you. At some training, I was given the advice to provide the council with the Board of Adjustment minutes after every meeting for two reasons. One, that you have the right by Iowa law to send the Board of Adjustment action back to them for review, or at least when it comes to variances. The other reason is that if there are a lot of variances for a given issue, that maybe that's a sign that you need to make changes to your code. And so I am giving you, I guess this is my notice or my report to you, that we have had a fair amount of those this last year. The Board of Adjustments approved a front yard fence variance. Well, it was a special exception for a property on East Monroe, I believe, and that allowing a front yard fence at 6 foot height. This was the third fence that has had this waiver in the last year, with none of them being denied.
They all front fences?
They were all front fences, but the other similarity is that they were either on cul-de-sacs or cul-de-sacs, dead-end roads, very low-traveled areas.
What's the normal requirement?
3 foot.
Twice the height.
Yeah.
But
These are
doesn't
corner lots.
transparency have to do something to do with it?
What?
Transparency of the fence have something to do with it?
Yes, and that is the Board of Adjustment, that was their requirement in each of these cases, is that it was a highly transparent. So in the case of, there's one on, what street do you live on?
Grimes.
Grimes.
North C Street.
Grimes and C Street that, it's about 75 or even higher transparency. Other ones were more of a mesh fence, again, that were on a dead-end road. The one that was most recently approved was a corner lot. The other ones were just requesting a higher fence for security purposes.
So these are all because of deer.
The first one was because of deer. The second one was security, and then this one was requesting it the corner lot side.
For deer.
And other reasons, but that is why the exception that they gave was based on it being a low traffic area, because they didn't want to set the precedence that, well, deer is not a special exception. Everyone has a deer problem, so if we start granting everyone fences because of the deer, everyone's going to have a 6-foot tall fence. Because, I mean, I agreed with their motion because it was on a dead-end street. There were no alleys. There was only one other driveway on that side of the street. I don't see an issue with sight distance on Monroe. The point I guess I'm making is that with the new fence ordinance, we've brought a lot of attention to our fence specifications, and the good news is a lot of people are applying for fences finally after years. The bad news is a lot of them are getting denied because of the front yard fence. A lot of them on corner lots. Yes.
What's the rationale for having a 3-foot limit on the front fence?
I would assume sight distance. I don't know if Sean can, but that would be my.
When you say sight distance, what do you?
For a vehicle that
So
whether you're pulling out of a driveway or
Driveways and alleys
alley.
and other streets.
Yeah.
Right. So it's line of sight.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's also a front yard rule that back in the 80s, there were a number of different disagreements over in the old hospital area. People did not want 6-foot tall fences in the front yards. They basically came to council and said, you're allowing California fences in Fairfield, Iowa. And California fences probably fits the description. I've been to California enough to know that 6-foot fences are lots of people's privacy in their front yards.
Isn't there a security issue when police respond to a domestic violence incident, for example? You come up to a house, it's a 6-foot fence, you can't see.
I'm sure there's.
I'm sure there is.
I'm sure there's lots of both social, economical, safety, security reasons for keeping it 3 fence. I don't have any recommendations or requests from you guys regarding the 3-foot fence issue. I'm more bringing it to your attention that we've had several of these, and maybe as you're talking with citizens about, whether you're having coffee with your ward or whatever, that this is something I would suggest you ask people about or look around your neighborhoods and see who's maybe built a fence in the last 15 years that was out of compliance, and what do you think about that? Just so, because there may be a need for a change in the future. Or more discussion. I don't have any recommendations because I agree with what Doug's saying. There's safety, there's sight distance, but then I also understand, well, if it's 75% see-through, is there a sight distance issue? So lots of things to consider that I don't have answers for. So that's the main point of the report. The other thing is that we would like to discuss, the planning and zoning staff would like to discuss the issue of having a fee for when a zoning permit or a building permit is not applied for. Again, with these permits, our permit fees are extremely low, and so many people will choose just not to apply for them because there's not a consequence for not applying for them. And implementing any fee would be part of Chapter 20, which goes to Planning and Zoning Commission first. But if any of the council has any input now or afterwards, let Dawn with Planning and Zoning, myself, or Doug know any of those comments, considerations that you would like us to build into that as we start to think about that and work with John on the legal aspects of that.
So this last paragraph states, you want to do the property committee or Ways and Means to consider a fee when a zoning permit is not obtained. I mean, like a penalty.
Yes.
Exactly. we've had it come up and we don't have it in the code as far as a penalty. I argued that we have general penalties at the front of the code, both for infractions and for misdemeanors. But this is sort of a hybrid. Violations of fence rules aren't exactly a misdemeanor.
Deconstruction's not a penalty?
We have not, that would
mean,
require going to court and enforcing it as
It's allowed though, right?
What?
It's allowed.
That would be an option, but that would require, that,
I'm not suggesting we do, I'm just.
no, that
there
would
is-
require taking that to court.
I'm just saying there are penalties out there,
Yeah,
but they're complicated.
yeah.
Right now, what's happening, Melanie, is the Board of Adjustment is trying to be kinder and gentler because of the interest in people doing the right thing about the permitting.
Yeah.
And the fences really aren't offensive, in the opinion of most of the people that talk about it. But the rest of it is the due process considerations and the standards of proof for a special exception are night and day compared to granting a variance. Our variance parts of our ordinance in Chapter 20 require about 6 findings, and they have to be proof beyond a reasonable doubt, similar to a criminal standard as far as statute interpretation. So it's a high bar on a variance, and hardship and other reasons that you can't make it work usually make it hard to get the variance, whereas the special exception is there so that you can make it work. And I think the Board of Adjustment wants, in most cases, to try to help people make it work unless it's just totally repugnant.
Yeah, and the one that was approved over on Grimes and C Street, it was given for the life of the fence, so that when the fence needs to be replaced, maybe there's a new owner, maybe the situation in the neighborhood has changed and it doesn't warrant a tall fence anymore, or the traffic has increased on that road and we have more concerns about sight distance. Same with the one on Monroe. Currently it's a dead end street, but maybe by the time that fence needs to be replaced, maybe something's different. And so they have been very considerate. It's food for thought, I guess. When you wake up in the middle of the night thinking of city stuff, you can think about this.
So do you want this idea in the last sentence or paragraph to be referred to a committee?
It does not need to. I guess if there's strong objections to staff looking into it further, I would like to know before we work on the effort. But if there's nothing, I'm not going to work on it until budget's done. So you guys have some time to give me opinions.
If we set a fee and Weston discovers there's a fence put in without a permit purchase, it would just be a ticket
Yes.
or send them a bill.
Yeah. And if it's in compliance, it's nothing more than you should have gotten a permit. When it's not in compliance, that's when we get into deconstruction and court and bigger issues. But, yeah. So.
Okay. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill,
Second.
second by Gandy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, council.